Heyo everyone, Zian over here from Nintendo Life. So it's currently the year 2022, and that means that Nintendo Land has been out in the wild for 10 whole years. And Nintendo Land, it's received a bit differently nowadays, but back when the Wii U first came out, I think the feelings were a little different. And with how little the Wii U sold, I still think there's a lot of people out there that have never given this game a chance. So today, I'm joined by the fantastic and wonderful Liam Richardson.
That is such a nice intro. I can't take the validation, Zion, especially from you. But I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to litigate this video game with you.
I love that. So Liam and I have been friends for a long time now. Liam used to write and do videos for Push Square.
I did.
And now you're at Rock Paper Shotgun and doing fantastic videos over there. And if you like PC stuff, you should go check out his videos there. I watch them all the time, and that's not like you just should go check them out.
Zion.
But it's fantastic that we're coming together to talk about this, like, almost not bond, but like I guess kind of in a way, like we both were year one Wii U owners, and I don't think either of us knew that.
No, I actually never knew you were a year one Wii U owner. And I think naturally people who were foolish enough to buy the Wii U at launch will always come together and find each other eventually, because there's only about 12 of us.
Right.
And that's a bond we'll share for life.
Like when I messaged Liam and was like, hey man, would you be interested in coming on the channel to talk about Nintendo Land? Like, I think I said, did you play Nintendo Land and did you like it? Or something like that. I don't even think I asked if you wanted to do a discussion.
Yeah, I think you just asked about the game.
You said something about Mario Chase, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like, I've played so much Mario Chase, and I was like, this is meant to be. It was just, we had to do this. So Nintendo Land, right, like we said, came out in 2012. It was bundled with the Wii U. If you bought like the deluxe edition here in the US, was it the same in Europe too?
Yeah, same in the UK. Yeah, if you bought the deluxe edition, the black system, I think the basic version was white. Is that right? Was that the same in the US?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think it seems like a lot more people bought that black model instead, because I mean, it was $50 more. I think in the US, you got the game and you got a few more perks and stuff. And Nintendo eventually just like stopped making the white one entirely. So a lot of people, I think, that were probably day one Wii U owners got Nintendo Land.
Yeah.
But I think beyond that, like there wasn't really like a whole lot of other games to sell people, I suppose, like to bring people into the Wii U at launch. Like there was a lot of games, but you and I were kind of talking about this before the chat. There wasn't really anything that like there was no, like you said, no Mario Kart, no Breath of the Wild. So it was like if you got the system, you probably got Nintendo Land, maybe you got New Super Mario Bros, you got Batman or Assassin's Creed or something that you've already played on some other system, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was there day one for Batman Arkham City Armored Edition, were they?
I kind of wish I was.
I think we were here for the Nintendo exclusives. Oh, well. Yeah, I mean, really, when you were unboxing your Wii U on day one, other than installing the huge update that was mandatory to use Miiverse, you were there for Nintendo Land. And that was what the excitement was about. That was what the buzz was about. Yeah, it was certainly the first game I played on the Wii U when I got it.
Yeah, I think so for me too. It is one of those games that I think, you know, like we were saying earlier, I think a lot of people looked at this game and thought that it was like just maybe some baby game or some like cash grab, like mini game compilation, I think as well. But once you actually like play it, you start to realize that like a lot of them have that Nintendo polish and charm, and there's lots of little like fun things you can do with the games beyond just getting to the goal or finishing the objective, you know, like and lots of ways the games change depending on how many players you play. Like there's a lot more in this game than I think people realized. At least that's how I feel about it now, like especially going back and playing a little bit recently.
Yeah, I think, I mean, this game is probably one of the more in-depth pack-in titles that Nintendo have ever made. And maybe also the most essential pack-in title that Nintendo have ever made. I think it's very easy 10 years later to look at Nintendo Land as this nice little oddity that reveres Nintendo franchises and has all these cool little interpretations of, you know, their biggest properties. But at the time, you know, Nintendo Land was given an impossible task. On the one hand, it was the first pack-in game after Wii Sports, which people were always going to make that comparison between the two. It was a brand new Nintendo console. This was the game that came bundled in the box. The expectations were that this game was going to show you everything the Wii U could do in the same way that Wii Sports did the same for the Wii. And also, it was given the impossible task of actually proving what that was for the Wii U, which, as we know now in hindsight, what was the Wii U? What a bonkers, brilliant system that was so confusing and just didn't really know what it wanted to be. And I think Nintendo Land had to try and communicate those things to its players. And yeah, it has that Nintendo polish, like you say. Playing it these days, I think you can see it for what it was better than maybe you could when you just dropped 350, pounds on this system. But I mean, you've played it recently, you said. I'm shocked you've done that. I guess you do work for a Nintendo channel. There was no way in hell I was getting the Wii U out of storage and setting it up, because that console is not an easy thing to play in 2022.
I mean, you're not wrong. It's a lot of cords. If you already have like a Wii setup or you have no interest in Wii stuff, then...
But if I was ever to set up the Wii U, it would be for this game.
If we were like stranded on a deserted island, the only video game we could play, for some reason this island has power and it has a TV and a Wii U and Nintendo Land.
Nice.
If that was the only thing we could play, I think we'd have a great time. We would probably kill each other in the process, but I think we would enjoy our time still,
I quite like the idea of being stuck on a tropical island and playing, Battle Quest.
Yeah,
I think
why not?
Be quite fun.
Get a little hungry and pretend we're eating candy with the Animal Crossing sweet days, maybe something. Yeah.
Delicious.
One thing I was thinking about too, while you were talking about how Nintendo Land was kind of handed this like monumental task, was it reminded me that, like we said, it was bundled with the Wii U, but then it was also sold separately for people that didn't get the bundle. But I think I didn't have enough time to look back at the data, but I think it retailed for $50. I think it was just a standard, like regular retail priced game. And you're right, it does really show off like everything the Wii U can do in this nice little package. I think this game kind of wins out in the fact that it has multiplayer, so you can get a lot of time with this game.
Yes.
But if you compare it to something like Astro's Playroom on PlayStation 5, so that game does a lot of really cool stuff and shows off how the DualSense controller works on PS5, but they didn't charge anything for that, right? That was like a free download.
Mm-hmm.
This is just hypothetical here, but like if Astro's Playroom had some multiplayer mechanics built into it, in some shape or form, which it doesn't have co-op, there's nothing, right? It's just...
No.
Okay.
Purely single player, yeah.
But yeah, like if that was for comparison's sake, if that had a few little multiplayer bits sprinkled in and they tried to sell that for $60, $70 these days, do you think people would feel pretty different about that game? Because I feel like people love Astro's Playroom.
Yeah.
And I wonder if part of that is, I wonder if they'd feel different if they had to pay for it instead.
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, yes, I think they would if that launched as a £70 PlayStation 5 game.
I suppose it's only like a 3-hour game or less or something even, right?
Yeah. But I think Nintendo Land definitely offers enough to have been sold. If you look at something like 1-2 Switch, which was sold full price, I think that offers way less in terms of content and enjoyment than Nintendo Land did. If I'd spent £50 on Nintendo Land and 1-2 Switch, I know which one I would regret out of the two. The fact that this was free-ish for people who bought the slightly more expensive Wii U, I think was a really generous giveaway. And I think spoke probably to how Nintendo felt internally about the Wii U's prospects straight off the bat.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think even probably back then too, I didn't feel so bad about, that because I wanted all of the extra little things. I wanted the stand that you get with the deluxe edition to hold up your gamepad.
Yep.
And I wanted the charger, and it didn't feel like I paid $50 for that game back then either you're right, because of the way it was bundled in and everything. But I suppose we can try to talk about some of the games themselves that are in Nintendo Land too. We don't have to talk about all of them. But I know you and I feel pretty strongly about which ones we really enjoyed and got a lot of time out of.
Absolutely. So tell me, what was your favorite game in the whole collection?
Oh man! So when I go back to Nintendo Land, when I think about it, I think you and I we have kind of our stories of how we got our Wii U's are not the same. But I got the Wii U when I was living with two other guys. We had friends over all the time. And so whenever friends would come over, I would kind of like not force them to play the Wii U, but I was like, you guys, we got to give Mario Chase a try.
Yeah.
And we would sit there and play that for, I swear, hours.
Yep.
It was just so like there's something. So I played it with my partner, Fallon, yesterday, just to kind of get a refresher. There's this intensity of when you're playing as Mario, because, you know, the goal, I know you know very well, but for anybody who's listening and doesn't know, the goal of Mario Chase is one person is playing as Mario on the gamepad, and you're basically running around this kind of like maze-like area, I suppose, and you can see the map on the bottom screen. And then chasing you are these Toad characters. And they're all of the human players that are playing with Wii remotes. And so, yeah, the goal is just to catch Mario. But you have 2 minutes and you're running around, and Mario's faster than the Toads.
Yeah.
But there's like ways that the Toads can kind of like sneak around and kind of like try to cut off Mario or like corner him. And it's just so, it's not like it doesn't really capture that like energy of Wii Sports in a sense where like you have the family all together necessarily, because some people might be better than others. And but there is just like this magic that I think you just don't like necessarily always feel in other games, because you're not like trying to get kills, or there's not like a score that you're trying to reach like at the end of it all. You're just trying to catch Mario or just get away, and it's just so simple. I was screaming when we were playing yesterday, just very lightly, but I was like, oh, just like I was feeling the intensity, and that was all natural. Yeah, so Mario Chase, I think, like is probably is my favorite game out of the whole thing. But what about you? Like, even if Mario Chase is your favorite, well, what would you pick?
I mean, it has to be Mario Chase.
Cool.
With Animal Crossing Sweet Day a close second. But what I'll say about Mario Chase is it is the quintessential example of the one thing the Wii U excelled at, and that's asymmetric social play. You know, Mario Chase is Pac-Man, right? That's all it is. You play Mario as Pac-Man, and the Toads are the ghosts.
Oh my gosh, you're right!
Yeah, and you're running around a maze. And all it does is it just hides where Pac-Man is from the ghosts. And it is hide and seek, it's tense, it's exciting, it facilitates shouting at each other. It's just got this absolutely fantastic ebb and flow within a very tight time frame. You know, part of it's hidden, the rest of it's on the screen for everyone to see. If one Toad sees Mario, everyone else in the room also knows where Mario is. Mario has the ability to see everyone at the same time. It is just a fantastic multiplayer game where there are no stakes, no challenges, nothing to unlock. It is purely about the interactions you have in that room. And that's what makes Mario Chase the best game in the collection. Now, Animal Crossing Sweet Day is a close second because it also facilitates that same experience, but with a slightly more gamey mechanic at the heart of it. You're collecting sweets, you've got to deposit them and into these zones, and the person on the gamepad controls two characters. So it kind of flips the experience and makes the people watching the telly the people being pursued. And Luigi's Mansion, whatever that one's called, let me just look at my guide here. Luigi's Ghost Mansion is also very similar. You know, all three of these games, arguably the best games in the collection, all have the same central premise of one person is pursuing, the rest are trying to evade or flipped around. And Mario Chase is, I think, the most easily understandable of those. I mean, yeah, no one else has made a game quite like this because you can't using a system as easily as the Wii U was capable of doing so. You had the gamepad. This was the game that said, hey, this is what we can do. This is what having one screen that one person is focused on allows us to create. Now, we'll get into this later, I'm sure. I think the Wii U peaks here.
It does, very strangely. I think I agree.
Mario Chase is where the Wii U is born and dies, all in that one minigame. And it is just, yeah, if I was going to dig the Wii U out, if I was going to blow the dust off the gamepad, this is the one game I would boot up straight away. I would dive into Mario Chase, I would get some friends around, and I know for a fact we would spend hours having the time of our lives because nothing else replicates this one experience.
So on the flip side with that, I know you did bring up two other games as well. You talked about the Animal Crossing Sweet Days and Luigi's Ghost Mansion, and I want to talk about those more too. But also with Mario Chase, like it is kind of, your fun is kind of reliant in a way on on how many people you have. It's 2 to 5 players only. There's no bots necessarily that you can face against. But I did learn. I had no idea this was a thing, or I just forgot, which is entirely possible. So if you do 2 players, have you done 2 players in Mario Chase?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
I had no idea that the Yoshi carts come out.
Yep.
And they like chase Mario with you. That was like, that blew my mind. Because when I first started playing with my partner yesterday, I was like, sure, I'll play as Mario, just so we can see what happens and all that. And but then the Yoshis like are really, really fast in comparison to the Toads, and they do have the benefit of the fact that they can't catch you. They can just knock you down, and then the Toads still have to catch you.
Yeah.
But I was surprised how relentless they were, and
horrible.
Yeah, I didn't really like. It is a different experience, but I think the game, it really peaks when you play with 3, 4, or 5 players if you can manage it. But I like what you said too about like that this is really kind of the quintessential Nintendo game or Nintendo Wii U game. Like even just Mario Chase alone is almost, maybe it wasn't worth the price of admission back then, but if you can get a Wii U now and a $10 copy of Nintendo Land, just play Mario Chase with a group of friends, spend a night, like the time will just fly.
If you can
wild.
get 5 people on that game, like you say, it sings with 5 players. It's phenomenally fun. But yeah, it is sadly the best in this collection by a country mile.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that the rest of the stuff isn't as good. And
yeah, and you were talking about Luigi's Ghost Mansion too. I was going to say, I haven't played that one in years, but I do remember loving it.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. It was fun, trying to find the ghosts, and you were playing as the ghost if you had the gamepad, and you were able to see everything that was happening, but the people on the telly could only see you if you got one of the Luigis, or if when the lightning flashed, if you were in the way of the window, your ghost would appear. Like all of these games, it was smart, beautifully referenced the source material, and it looked great as well. I think that's one thing we should definitely talk about, is for a lot of people, this was their first experience playing a HD Nintendo game. And I don't think that should be taken lightly. When the Wii came out, if you were like me and you went for a Wii over an Xbox 360, you would look at the 360, you would look at Gears of War, you would look at Dead Rising, and you would see those crisp, lovely visuals and 1080p, Xeon.
I'm so glad you brought up Dead Rising. You poor soul.
Oh, you would look at it and you'd be like, wow, that looks amazing. Time to go home and play my 480p console. And getting the Wii U, even though it was after all of those systems had been around for so long, and by that point most of us had HD TVs, seeing that Nintendo polish in crisp, colourful HD, seeing Nintendo Land when you went straight into that plaza and all those colours just popping off the screen, what a delight. And again, Mario Chase was so colourful and so nice, and this game has a really lovely handcrafted feel to it. It's something I really admire about this game, is everything feels like it was created out of real-world materials. You feel like you're in this fantastical place.
It does, yeah.
That's like a toy box. I was watching some footage of the Metroid game earlier when you fight Ridley. At the end of it, he's made out of sticks and bits of cotton. And, the Animal Crossing game, you can see the stitches in the felt, and in the Balloon Fight game, you can see the folds in the curtain and the gaps as you fly through, and it's just got this very, like you're lost in a toy box filled of Nintendo products. And I'm getting, just even thinking about it now, especially when I think about the Legend of Zelda game and walking through those lovely dioramas, it felt like the people who made this game loved the company that they worked for. And it's probably the only game outside of Smash Brothers that has such a reverence for Nintendo in their history. I mean, there's a Metroid game in here.
Right.
You know what it was like to have Metroid content in 2012?
There's F-Zero.
Yeah, F-Zero, yeah.
You're right.
Even 10 years ago, we were like, oh my god, Nintendo remember what Metroid is?
Yeah.
All 3 of the Team Attraction games, you've got your Legend of Zelda Battle Quest, your Pikmin Adventure, and your Metroid Blast, they're pretty substantial. You get quite a lot of content out of them. And also, they were just brilliant fun to run through with friends. Talking about playing this game with other people. Oh, that Zelda game with some pals. What a treat.
I just discovered yesterday too, and I think I've always wanted to do this. Like, I've had the thought in my brain, but yesterday we were playing the Zelda one, and I got to be the archer, and I was sitting in my desk chair, so I was legitimately spinning around in it, as I was playing, and it was so smooth. I cannot recommend
Beautiful.
a 360 or a not 360 degrees. I guess, yeah, just a desk chair for playing those kinds of games when you have the gamepad.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool too that I was feeling this when playing the Zelda game too. I don't know if you remember these feelings, but it's almost like, I mean, this was kind of before VR was really popularized, I would say. Like maybe the Oculus was already out or was being tested at least. But it kind of feels like when you're exploring like some of those games, like the Zelda one, and even just like the hub world, the plaza, you kind of get to like hold the gamepad in front of your face and like pretend you're in a different world because you can look wherever you want. And I think Nintendo did kind of test that out with like, there was like the Google Maps thing where you could like walk around, you know, and look at stuff. I think I did that once and then forgot about it, but
Sam.
But it is really just impressive how many elements this game incorporated. You mentioned it earlier too. Nintendo's kind of always been like known for trying to like get the most out of their tech and show off fun things and be weird. And this game really just it tried so much stuff. Like even the Donkey Kong's Crash Course was one that I loved back in the day.
Yes, Sam.
You did?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Secretly a great game.
Yeah, it is. Because we used to take the Wii U into the game store that I would work at, and we just, I don't know, set it up sometimes. I think I was working there when the Wii U came out, so maybe that's what I'm remembering, but I had a coworker that specifically just loved that game. Like, he didn't want to play any of the other Nintendo Land mini games, but that one, he would take his lunch and maybe, like, I have memories of him just doing the courses over and over again. And it's so simple on paper, too. You're really you're playing as this little car with, like, basically an egg strapped to it with your face on it, and you have to maneuver these courses, right? And, like, if you take it too fast or something, you might crash your egg into a ramp and you blow up and you die. Just like in real life.
Yeah.
Just kidding. That's not how... always wear a helmet, people.
To any eggs watching, make sure you wear a helmet.
Yeah, please. We're just looking out for you. But I remember being so good at that game. And yesterday when I played it, I did awful. But all my high scores are still saved. And I saw how good I did. And now I'm kind of like motivated to pick it back up again. Because I have the Wii U hooked up all the time. Like you said, I'm at Nintendo Life. It's always there. Maybe I'll spend some time and improve that skill. But it's just so cool. Like the diversity this game has too. Like, I suppose even if you don't have a bunch of people to play with, there are still fun things to play, but your experience could just be so different with Nintendo Land.
Yeah.
If it's just you or just one other person, or maybe you do have a group of people. You were talking about how when you got the Wii U, like, were you at university or uni?
Yeah, I was in my third year of uni, and basically the Wii U came out in November, and I got it for Christmas. My parents very, very generously offered to foot a quarter of the cost of the Wii U if I paid the rest.
That's sweet.
But it meant I couldn't get it until Christmas Day.
By the way, can I ask too, did your family, like, did you have big, like, Wii moments together? Like, did you play Wii Sports and stuff? Like, were they going in on this with you in hopes that it was like the Wii 2, or anything like that?
Yes. And I think this is where Nintendo Land falls over. And I think I saw that. Well, I know I saw that straight away on Christmas Day. Because when the Wii came out, I bought the Wii, brought it home. My parents aren't big into games. And my grandma was spending the night that day as well. So I brought the Wii home and I hooked it up. And I was playing Wii Tennis. And everyone was watching. And they were like, what is this? It's a story that I think every single person watching this video can relate to. I was holding the Wiimote, I was swinging it, and a little guy on the screen was doing the same action.
1-to-1, right?
1-to-1, right? But, they looked at me and they went, give me that. I understand. I have watched this for 30 seconds and I understand every single thing I need to know about what's happening here. And that evening, I remember we were all stood around the telly and all night, all we did, Wii Sports. Everyone, every game understood it, right? So when the Wii U comes out, and there is a little bit of buzz about it because it's called the Wii U, and everyone who had the Wii thinks this is the natural successor, or, that classic problem where everyone thought the gamepad was an accessory for the Wii. I don't know whether you had that in the States, but that was a huge problem over here in the UK.
Yeah.
I get the Wii U, I open it on Christmas Day, and I boot up Nintendo Land. No one cares. And that's the problem. Nothing about this game was easy to understand. You could maybe sit someone down and after a couple of turns, they would understand Mario Chase, but you hand them that monstrous gamepad that has a screen on it and a bunch of buttons, it doesn't have that immediacy that made Wii Sports and the Wii such a success. As much as I'm saying that Nintendo Land, and especially things like Mario Chase, were the pinnacle of what the Wii U could offer, I think this game is also indicative of the fundamental flaw that was at the heart of the Wii U. And that's the fact that it didn't have a clear purpose. And when I was there on Christmas Day, and my grandma was there as well, and I was like, hey, does anyone want to play Animal Crossing Sweet Day? The answer was no, because of course it was. And it felt, honestly, on that day, I sat there and I just knew in my heart that this console was not going to be a success. You know, this was the game that had to sell people on this system. This was the Wii Sports equivalent for this system. And there's 12 games on this thing, and all of them do something different. And that in of itself is bonkers. Wii Sports did one thing. You swing the remote and something happens.
Yeah.
You think my grandma was going to sit there and play the Donkey Kong Crash Course game? Hey, grandma, hold this television in your hands that looks like a Game Gear and twist it, but not too much. That is a wild thing to ask of a woman in her 80s. You just wouldn't do that.
And sometimes buttons do things too.
Yes, sometimes buttons do things.
And you have to let go of them.
Yep, that's too much. You might have to use an analog stick. Unhinged is a way of trying to get the casual gamers back in for round 2. Just was never going to happen.
I totally see what you mean, though, too, about, like, I've never really thought of it in the fact that somebody who doesn't play video games could look at the Wii and feel confident enough to give that a shot. But you're right, like,
absolutely,
dad or grandma or whoever might walk into the room and see a bunch of 12-year-olds enjoying Mario Chase, laughing, having a great time. But they look at that thing that's in their hands and they're like, I'm not going to be able to wrap my head around that. And they say, no, thanks. And that is such a shame. And I think that really kind of explains the whole kind of dilemma with Nintendo Land, I think, in a way, is like, at least from my perspective, is that once you've played it, there is a lot of fun to be had, and you might want to go back to it, and it'll consume your brain, and you'll keep thinking about it, you know, even after you're done playing.
Yeah.
But giving it that shot, like looking at it on paper, it's not helping its case.
No,
right?
Absolutely not.
We can get back to the point too, because I do kind of want to hear about your story with, like, you know, having it at college as well. Like, did your friends and stuff have like certain games that they like latched onto that surprised you, or did you always stick with like a certain game, or like how did that shake out?
So, I mean, I lived with a bunch of people who were studying game design.
Wow.
So the Wii U was an easier sell to them, and Nintendo Land was a great way of showing them what this system was capable of. We played a lot of Battle Quest. We would run through that quite often. That was always a good thing to do if we were just hanging out and wanted to relax. But ultimately, every session would always end with a cheeky bit of Mario Chase. Because of course it did, right? Because it was just so much fun. But honestly, you know, even though other games would come and go, Nintendo Land would always find its way back into that disc tray, no matter what. It was just such an easy thing to play with people who got it, people who love Nintendo. And you know, quite often we'd be like, hey, doesn't this have a Pikmin game? And then we'd try that out for a bit and we'd play through that again, and then we'd go back to Zelda and we'd go back to Mario Chase. And like I said before, the real beauty of this game is how it brought people together physically in an era where the majority of mainstream games were doing the opposite. They were either huge single-player experiences, or most likely they were online-only multiplayer games. And here was this bonkers, weird, local multiplayer game that made one of you hold a TV in your hands, and it just felt magic.
There are certain moments, too, where I can see the downsides of, like, you know, like you were saying, like the fact that you're holding a screen in your hand is tough for certain, for grandma too. Like,
yeah.
I was playing a bit of the Takamaru's Ninja Castle,
yeah,
where you're like throwing shurikens at the screen and trying to hit ninjas. When I first saw that, I feel like I watched like Steven Totillo, who was like writing for, I think he's at like Axis now, maybe it's what it's called, but he was at like MTV for a while on Kotaku.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing videos of him playing that, or playing the Wii U back at E3 when I was a baby, and weren't we all? But but I remember like seeing people play that ninja game, and I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. It looks so immersive. But then when I actually started playing it, it felt kind of like, it's a rail shooter, but it's kind of obnoxious to control because you have this like, I don't know how heavy the gamepad is. Maybe it's a pound. It sure feels like it sometimes, but you have this massive device in your hand.
Yeah.
And then you also have to like aim it at the screen in this kind of not necessarily natural way. And maybe if I backed up away from my TV, I would have felt better. But it's hard to be precise, and they give you a ton of shurikens to throw. So you're not like constantly feeling the need to reload, but it just it doesn't hook you as much as I think I wished it would have.
Yeah.
And maybe that's one of those games that they included to just be like, look at this thing you can do. We made this. We're not going to throw it away. You know, I'm not sure. But it is tough too that like some of the games aren't as strong as the others, I suppose. And maybe there's people out there that is their favorite one. Maybe they are a speed runner for Takamaro's Ninja Castle. I'm not sure. But it just, some games, just don't have that instant hook that others do.
I mean, it's a real mixed bag. And reviews at the time reflected this. The single player content, I think there are quite a few games in this collection that are a bit toothless, a bit throwaway. We spoke at the beginning about how people thought this might be a bit of a light minigame collection, and I think the only case where that sentiment is true was in the single player offerings. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't like Octopus Dance. There is always going to be a part in my heart for Octopus Dance, but I'm not going to go ahead and say it's one of my favorite Nintendo experiences ever. You know, it's like, I get it. It's nice that it's based on a Game & Watch title. That's it. Thus ends my list of positive points.
That's one of those properties that Nintendo tries to like shove down our throats sometimes, and it's like, oh, like I don't eat fish, please, like, or I don't eat anything from the sea, please. I don't want octopus, please. No more octopus dancing. Yeah.
Stop, Nintendo. Stop making games about octopuses dancing.
It's not my thing.
I don't think I'd fully considered until you asked me to do this video that it has been a decade since the Wii U came out.
Oh,
and
no.
Honestly, the psychic damage that did to me is I'm not going to recover from it. 10 years on, what do you think about this game? You know, we've spoken a lot about what it was like at the time.
Sure.
But the Xeon of now, the Xeon who knows the Nintendo Switch exists, the Xeon who lives in an era when Nintendo has arguably never been as strong as it is now. What does Nintendo Land mean to you?
This is a great question. I'm so glad that you asked that. I long for the feelings of playing Nintendo Land again in that room with a bunch of my friends in the town that I grew up in. And I just miss those nights of having the time to be able to spend 3 hours playing Nintendo Land and not have to worry about anything else. Like I would get done with work and I would go home and hang with my pals. And that was the game that we played so much. And I don't think it was because we bought a Wii U and because we needed to justify it. It was like we had so many other consoles we could have been playing. Like we played some Minecraft at the time. We probably played some Left 4 Dead and shooters and stuff, but we would just always fall back on Nintendo Land. And playing it again the other day, I still felt a lot of that excitement that I did back then. And so I think part of me misses Nintendo Land for all of those reasons that I just explained about, you know, like being in that time capsule, you know?
Yeah.
But I think if I got the right group of people together, I want to be very careful with how I say this because I don't want it to come off as like people should run out and get a Wii U and Nintendo Land now. But I do think that Nintendo Land, we talked about this before too. Nintendo Land will probably never come to the Switch because it just can't happen in the way that it's made. But I think it is an experience that you just can't get anywhere else. Like when you made that Pac-Man comparison, that reminded me a lot of Pac-Man Versus with Mario Chase. And sure, that's a thing, but being able to have this like massive-ish screen in your hands and the way the game just allows you to quickly trade off like who is Mario and who isn't. It's just such a seamlessly fun experience. If people that are listening have a Wii U and maybe they just used it as a Smash machine, which is what mine eventually turned into, and I imagine lots of people's systems did. Maybe they got it for Mario Kart. Maybe they played it for Splatoon and they never went back and played Nintendo Land. It's a fantastic reason to own this system. And I think there are days where I legit want to like pack that system up and take it over to one of my friends' houses in town and just be like, look, today we're playing Nintendo Land. Just trust me. And I hope they do, you know, like I'm already dreaming about like a time that you and I can hang out and just play Nintendo Land.
I was going to say this.
And I know it probably sounds like it's a big mixed bag of nostalgia, but long story long, I don't know. I don't think the game has aged poorly in that regard.
No.
Yeah. But where are you at?
for me, I just don't think there's ever been a game that belongs on a system as much as Nintendo Land belongs on the Wii U. It encapsulates every single facet of what made that console special and what made it a failure. It is this beautiful, messy grab bag full of things that is confusing and brilliant and pure Nintendo. It makes me remember just how weird Nintendo were during the Wii U era. The fact that they launched with this game is bizarre. I think, looking back, I have so much nostalgia and love for the Wii U. And what's been interesting about the Switch is how the Wii U provided this really rock-solid foundation for the Switch for the first few years. It provided it with a back catalogue of pretty, relatively unknown titles that were given this new lease of life. And all of these games that I always thought of as quintessential Wii U games, Mario 3D World, even Zombie U, Smash in a lot of ways, because Ultimate basically built upon that foundation as well.
Yeah, you're right.
All of these titles that felt like they belonged to the Wii U were severed from that system and are just fundamentally better on the Switch. But like you say, Nintendo Land can't exist on the Switch. We'll never see this. It will die on the Wii U. It belongs to the Wii U. I can't imagine this game or concept being anywhere else, because when I think about Nintendo Land, I think about how the camera on the gamepad would capture your face if you were holding it, and it would be displayed on the TV. I think about how it used the microphone, how it used the touchpad, how it used the buttons and the gyro, and it gave us these asymmetric multiplayer experiences that proved that this system was capable of doing something, and all these other games that proved it was capable of doing very little. And as a historical artifact a decade later, I can't think of a single game that defines the Wii U more than Nintendo Land. I get what you're saying. I don't want anyone in this comment section to be like, well, I better go pay God knows how much for Nintendo Land. You don't need to. You don't need to. But at the same time, if you own a Wii U, I do kind of think your collection's incomplete without this. It's a strange position to be in, but this is a special game.
I think you're right. Like, they made enough copies of it. It was bundled with Wii U's. I know, like, Wii Sports has had its moments, like, especially in COVID. Like, Wii Sports prices were, like, through the roof because people were, like, stuck at home and wanting to play Wii Sports again.
Yeah.
And hopefully Nintendo Land never becomes a valuable game. But I do think, I agree though, like, there probably are a lot of people out there that it was a launch title, it was sold separate, like we said, for a little bit, but then I think Nintendo probably took it off the shelves. So I think there's a lot of people out there that bought the bundles with, like, Splatoon and Smash and Mario Kart even. Like, there were so many Mario Kart bundles. And I think they just probably never gave Nintendo Land a chance. And so if you've got a couple Wii remotes and make sure your gamepad is charged, I think you could have, like, a great, like, week, or even just a few fun nights with your family or some of your pals. It's surprising how fun this game is. And I think the last thing, and then I'll shut my mouth, is that I want to touch on too, that you brought up actually, is how on the Switch these days there's a lot of co-op experiences, but it feels like if Nintendo were to make a game like this now, or even any developer, it would have to be online only. Because imagine playing like Dead by Daylight or Dragon Ball: The Breakers, or, you know, any of those games where it's asymmetric multiplayer. It just feels like that can't work on one console. And here it, like, it's the way to play. Like, and there is no online for Nintendo Land. But if there was, you wouldn't really have the same excitement. I mean, I imagine if we were chatting through Discord and playing Mario Chase together, you and I are like a million miles apart. So I would take that over not playing Mario Chase with you. But if I could play in person instead, that would be the way to do it. It's a bummer that the Wii U is going to get buried with Nintendo Land, but it's how it should be. Yeah. Right?
No, I agree.
Well, we're going to keep rambling about Nintendo Land forever if we don't find a place to lay it down and let it get some sleep. But thank you for hanging out, Liam. This has been a long time coming.
You kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding. Come on.
Nate, I will speak for everyone watching this when I say the stuff that the three of you are doing on this channel continues to be exemplary. I am a huge Nintendo Life fan, and a Xeon friend second is how I describe myself.
Oh, really? That's not how that's not how I describe you, Liam.
That's a joke. I think the three of you are smashing it. I think Felix is such a great addition to the team.
Me too, man.
But no, it's a privilege to chat on this channel.
Oh, man.
It's a shame we never got to chat when I was at Push Square, but if I can admit something to you now that I've never admitted to you before, I was way too nervous to talk to you when I worked at Push Square. The mighty Xeon.
Liam,
yeah, you kidding me? You were like leagues ahead. Like,
that's not even a thing.
Yeah, we're like good pals now, but
I mean, I'm hearing it. It's your words. It's your brain. I can't change that. But I'm lucky. We're lucky to have you too, man. So thanks, dude.
God bless you.
Gosh, and I'm so glad. Like I said earlier too. Please go follow Liam at Rock Paper Shotgun. I'll leave links in the description down below so you can check out some PC stuff. And you do things over there too that are relevant for our viewers too. Like you'll talk about games that come over to other systems. You just talk about the PC side of stuff. Like I checked out your your Persona 5 video that you did. I guess that was like a month ago now at this point. But
yeah. Speaking of Wii U gamepads, we do a lot of Steam Deck stuff.
Oh,
so if
true.
you miss having a bulky handheld, please do come over to Rock Paper Shotgun. Yeah, we talk a lot about PC stuff, and we are indie focused as well. I think that's where
that's a good point.
We share a lot of common ground, like you say. Yeah, we are mainly focused on highlighting fun little indie gems, just like you guys are. So,
and you guys did you interviewed, was it Ron Gilbert from Monkey, like the creator of Monkey Island as well at PAX? There's a video on that too, isn't there?
Yeah, PAX. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plenty of fun stuff over there if anyone wants to come and join us.
Sweet deal. Let us know in the comments down below if you were one of the few year one Wii U Nintendo Life owners. Let us know if you picked it up randomly because you found it for a song somewhere. That's a thing in Europe, right? Don't people say they got it for a song? Is that a deal?
Yeah, that is right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay. Sweet. Look at me learning. And I want to know what was your Nintendo Land experience if you had it, and if you don't have one, are you going to have one now? And of course, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this, then why don't you go ahead and find a way to play that subscribe button with 1 to 5 players on a Nintendo console, because it would be impressive and I would be proud of you for figuring it out. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you, Liam, for coming on for this chat. I cannot tell you how much of a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Hey, that was my line. Stay safe out there, and we will see you all next time.
Bye.